finally watched Megalopolis, Francis Ford Coppola's new movie, a fable, as he says. So I'll read the synopsis because this movie's kind of all over the place. As the city of New Rome faces the duel between Cesar Catilina, a brilliant artist in favor of a utopian future, and the greedy mayor Franklyn Cicero. Between them is Julia Cicero, with her loyalty divided between her father and her beloved. So, apparently, Coppola's been trying to make this for over 40 years. He couldn't find funding for it, and he just financed it himself. He spent like 120 million of his own money, and then Lionsgate distributed it. So I guess they spent a little bit. And he sold part of his winery, and this is the result. And it made about $13 million in the theater. And I have to say, I think there's parts of this movie I like, but this movie is a total mess. I mean, I don't think it tells its story very well. The plot's all over the place. Probably there's probably three actors I thought were good in it. I thought Adam Driver was actually good in it. I thought he kind of held it together because he's the star basically. I like Audrey Plaza. I think she's good in it too, and I like Lawrence Fishburne. He's Adam Driver's driver, which is funny, but he kind of is throughout of it. Just he gives like a monologue, just voice in the background. This movie's kind of broken up into different chapters, and usually it kind of has a quote or it says something on the screen. He kind of opines from time to time about different things, about can an empire last forever? When does an empire fall? I think he says when the people stop believing in it. And he's like, that's where we are now. I liked in it the look. There is some bad CGI, but I thought there is some striking visuals. I like when they're driving through the city and some of the statues are collapsing or moving in the background. There's a, it's not gladiator games, it's like the Maximus Circus. They have chariot racing. Some of that was cool. I mean, I like how this is basically New York City, but it's called New Rome. And I don't think they really explain it if this is the United States of America, because they show the American flag. Maybe it was the 13 states flag though, like the original flag of the US. So I'm not sure, or is it supposed to be that Rome never fell, because at one point they say that they can feel the wind off the Aegean Sea, which is, the sea in Greece. So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be in Italy or if this is supposed to be like maybe the Roman Empire never fell and they're the ones who colonized North America and created New York City. So I'm not sure. But I liked some of that. A lot of Roman architecture, a lot of Roman influence. Some people kind of wear like almost like suits mixed with like togas, or how the Romans would dress. So there's some interesting things in here. but just the narrative's all over the place. The plot's all over the place. It involves Adam Driver, who's created this magical substance called Megalopolis, something like that, and he can create it's like a construction material, but it can also freeze time, which I thought, oh, Megalon, that's it. So on Screen Rant, it says Cesar, who's Adam Driver, created Megalon following his wife's death. His wife's death, who he was accused of killing, and the mayor, who I guess was a prosecutor, tried to put him in jail for that, but then he was freed because they never proved he killed her. So while he was trying to save her, Cesar was struck with the principle for Megalon. After discovering she was pregnant with twins when she died, Megalon was an extension of Caesar's hope, a way for him to create something that would secure the world for future generations. While it's unclear how exactly Caesar fabricated Megalon, Megalopolis shows him holding the heart of his wife, whose car fell into the river at one point. Megalon is also seemingly fused with a piece of his wife's hair, which suggests that only life can create life. Megalon remains mysterious through Megalopolis. Yeah, I think a little too mysterious, but Coppola does not reveal some of its quantities. The elusive substance can seemingly cause hallucination, as Caesar often sees things that aren't there. Drops of Megalon can also heal people, as it does to Caesar's face. Yeah, this is all spoilers. I didn't really enjoy the movie. I think there are some good things in it, but now spoilers. As it does to Caesar's face after he is shot. That part was kind of shocking, actually. I thought that was actually pretty powerful. The material is also what Megalopolis is made of. It can contort itself into anything, buildings, walkways, etc. And is self-sustaining. Megalon can also control time and turn things invisible at will. It's a magical substance that can seemingly do just about anything while simultaneously evolving alongside humans. So, yeah, and he is trying to create like this giant kind of public housing, and he's destroying houses which are pissing people off with the promise of in the future building housing for them, which he does pay off in the end, because throughout the movie I was like, he's the good guy, but he's destroying all these people's houses, and there's all these homeless people, and he doesn't really seem to care that much, honestly. But in the end, he does make this giant utopian public housing thing, and it has like escalators made of Megalon. So I guess he does pay it off. And then opposite to him is Giancarlo Esposito, who's the mayor. Adam is, it's like the head of the design authority or something, which I don't really know what that is, but it's a very powerful organization. I mean, all these people are super rich too. They're all super rich. A lot of them are related to each other. There's a lot of like weird incest going on in this movie, but there's so many things going on in this movie. It's crazy. This is almost like, 2 or 3 different scripts that Coppola smashed together. But basically his rival is Giancarlo, and he is, and his daughter falls in love with Adam Driver, but Giancarlo wants to instead create casinos to exploit the people. And that was his big thing that he showed, that he's going to create these casinos. And he is the guy who tried to prosecute Adam Driver. Natalie Emmanuel is Julia Cicero. She falls in love with Caesar. Aubrey Plaza is Wow Platinum, and yeah, that's her name. Wow. And she used to be, and she's like kind of a social media on the kind of like news reporter kind of. And she in the beginning of the movie is sleeping with Adam Driver, but then he kind of dumps her and he moves on to Natalie Emmanuel. Shia LaBeouf is going nuts in this movie. I mean, he's going crazy. I don't know what kind of, it's like what kind of drugs these people are on, but he's going crazy, shouting, and you know, I can't even explain what he's doing. He's almost in his own movie, just going nuts. John Voight's in this. He's a rich billionaire, incredibly wealthy, and he later on in the movie marries Aubrey Plaza, but he has a prenuptial agreement where she doesn't get his money. Shia LaBeouf is his grandson, and later on in the movie, Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza scheme against John Voight to take over his company, steal his money, but John Voight ends up actually killing Aubrey Plaza with a bow and arrow in a hilariously weird scene where they walk into his room. This is after he had a stroke, but then it's almost like he's faking having a stroke, so I'm not sure if he really had a stroke or not. I think he was faking it. And they walk into his room and he has a giant boner, but then he reveals that it's actually a bow and arrow, and then he shoots Aubrey Plaza in the heart. She drops dead. He shoots Shia LaBeouf twice in the ass. Throughout all of this, Shia LaBeouf is also taking the people who Adam Driver is destroying their houses with promise of future, utopian housing, and he's shooting him in the ass with it. He shot him in the ass with an arrow twice, and he's trying to lead this revolution so that he will be the leader and also steal all of John Voight's money. But they end up beating him to death in the streets and killing him, so his revolution fails. Lawrence Fishburne, like I said, is a narrator throughout it, and Adam Driver's personal friend and his driver in his car. Talia Shire is in this just for a little bit. She's the mom of Adam Driver. And she says like something very weird. She's like, the alligators were right. They eat their children, so she doesn't really like him. Okay, Jason Schwartzman's in this for a little bit. James Remar's in this for a little tiny bit. So great cast. But does it add up to a good movie? And I would say not really. I was just kind of waiting for it to end. I mean, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes long. I didn't think the narrative was told very well, and I'm sure people that are really into this movie would say, well, that's on purpose, you didn't get it. Maybe not. I found the movie boring. Like, I just honestly found the movie boring. And if I find a movie boring, then I just can't really get into the story or the plot. So, because there are some people on YouTube and the internet that love this movie, that think it's brilliant. I'm not sure I'm there. A movie this kind of reminded me of in some way was Cloud Atlas by the Wachowskis. Whereas that movie, though, I think like a third of that movie is a mess. Like I think a third of that movie is a mess, but I think the other 2/3 I think are great. Like and the plot isn't a mess. Like you get what the plot's saying, you get what the story is. There's like I think like 4 different narratives in that, but they kind of loosely connect. But with that movie, I will, and because I actually like that movie, but I will admit that like a third of it is a mess, but 2/3 I think are really, really good. And with this, I just think it's almost all a mess. With you know, and there's some good things like I mentioned. So, and then throughout the movie, there's also this kind of plot that comes up here and there about this. Is it a Chinese? It says CCCP. I think that's China. It's like a Chinese, you know, communist satellite, and it's floating in the air in space, and it's falling apart, but it's like nuclear powered, I think, and it's gonna fall over. They're not sure if it will fall on New Rome or not, but then in the end it does fall on New Rome, and I think it kills a lot of people and destroys parts of New Rome, but then they just kind of talk about it for like 5 minutes and never talk about it again, which I thought was very strange. Like, they seemed like it's a huge deal and all this nuclear waste is going to fall in the city, but then they just kind of drop it and never talk about it again. That was another part I was like, was that from like a different script to a different movie that you kind of just put into this? I mean, I'm not sure what it is. Is it that also cleared some of the area where Driver in the end creates his utopian public housing? I'm not sure. Maybe that's what it was, but I just felt like a lot of this movie had interesting parts, but it wasn't told competently. And it's like, you know, I Francis Ford Coppola, he's made some of, like, you know, great movies. I mean, for me, his best two movies are The Godfather 1 and 2. But, you know, I like The Conversation. I like Apocalypse Now. I like Bram Stoker's Dracula. That movie, I could see some similarities to this, because that movie, I think, also has some narrative plot problems. Like, it's kind of all over the place, but it kind of works for me too. In that movie, I think one of the problems is, you know, another connection to the Matrix, because this has Morpheus, that movie has Neo, and he's terrible in that movie. So, but yeah, that movie I think has some plot and story problems too, but this is like on a different level. So, but yeah, and then Adam Driver is destroying these public housing, which is getting these people angry, and Shia LaBeouf is secretly trying to cause a revolution. Dustin Hoffman's in this just for a little bit, and he's with Giancarlo Esposito. He's going to build the casino, and there's a scene where Adam Driver and him are arguing when they reveal the casino they want to build, and it's just weird scenes. Like Giancarlo and Dustin Hoffman are like, we're going to build with concrete, and steel. And then Adam Driver's, you know, you want to build with Megalon, this magical substance. And they're like, and then it's dangerous, and you know, and it's not safe to be around, which is never really dug into. I mean, what are they implying? It causes cancer or something? I'm not sure. None of these things are dug into enough to really understand it. So, there's that going on, and then Shia LaBeouf, I think, ends up killing Dustin Hoffman by causing something to fall. I guess causing a collapse of a building that he's trying. I guess he's like a contractor, I think, working for the mayor. But then they show that you know, Shia LaBeouf is kind of trying to cause a revolution, and then they cut to Dustin Hoffman, and he's in a building, and a bunch of, and sorry, car back there, it's backfiring. Sorry, that was loud. Um, but yeah, and then a bunch of concrete falls on him. So I guess the concrete he loves ends up killing him or something. But yeah, so and then you know, and then a scene I thought was really well done is Adam Driver's in his car, and he gets shot by this little kid who's paid by Shia LaBeouf to kill him, and he shoots him in the head, but he survives, and they use Megalon to heal his face, and kind of cool looking actually, like half his face is like glowing. It's almost like Two-Face, but it's like he's glowing with Megalon on half his face. But then he says that he lost all of his money, so then Shia LaBeouf, I think, stole all his money. None of it's ever explained well, which I guess is all on purpose. I don't know. This movie's like just full of itself, I think. I think it thinks it's way smarter than it is, but I don't know. And I also just think it's boring. So if it's boring, I don't really care what you have to say because your movie isn't really entertaining me. But I was reading some Reddit post about this movie, and I've heard Coppola say this. The idea was based on an interesting subject matter from Roman history known as the Catilinian Catilinarian conspiracy. In Coppola's words, the Catiline conspiracy was the story about someone whose position was very classical and old. That old traditions are good, which is so, versus a conflict with someone who is more futuristic. So I guess Giancarlo Esposito would have been classical and old, right? And Adam Driver is someone who is more futuristic. That we should leap over the old and into new ideas. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if you made a Roman epic but didn't see it in ancient Rome, set it in modern New York? A big New York story in which Catiline and Cicero, or the mayor and an architect, were at odds. And what if it was the daughter of the mayor who came to be in love with the opponent of the mayor? Then he continues with a story about debate between those who believe that the way to go is to leap into the future and those who believe we should secure the security of the past. To finish with all this long synopsis, it is also the story about an architect seeking to rebuild New York as a utopia after a terrible disaster in the city. Yeah, which is the satellite full of toxic waste. All of this in $100 million production financed by Coppola himself. Seems that the story is larger than life. Yeah, I'd say. Taken from Coppola's words in many interviews, it's a love story about a woman torn between two men. She's going to be either loyal to her father, who educated her and gives her values, whom she loves, or she's going to be loyal to this wizard guy who she feels is the solution. And she's in that position of having loyalty to these two different roles in her life. And the themes they represent, one wants to leap into the future unafraid, and the other says, no, we have to be careful and build a society that's not going to fall above us. Yeah, and then she ends up having a baby with Adam Driver, and in the end, when he creates his utopian housing, they freezes time, but then the baby continues to move. And I think that's saying that the baby's the future. I think that's what it's saying. And it's not, I don't know. See, I don't really know what it's saying. And then this thing comes up about I pledge allegiance to the human race. And it's like the human race has certain rights. I'm not really sure what that means, but maybe it means like a new civilization is being created by Adam Driver. So this is Screen Rant. Megalopolis, what does the ending mean? May focus on a lot of greed, power, and money, as well as the tense relationship between the wealthy, but its ending is all about hope. Hope for the future, for change, for working together despite a contentious past, and for building something for humanity that lasts. The film ending is about wanting something better for the next generation and working towards that goal without distraction. Megalopolis underscores the value of hope in a seemingly hopeless world, of doing away with politicians and the riches neglect of the people to create something valuable and life-saving, which Caesar accomplishes. Yeah, and I've heard some people say this movie's about like globalism versus nationalism, and the end is ushering in globalism or something. I don't know. I think this movie's about a lot of different things, and I think it's kind of a mess. The first half of Megalopolis, a satellite was falling to Earth from space, and it was gearing up to crash somewhere in Canada. However, it was later revealed the abandoned satellite would touch down in New Rome instead. It's never fully shown what happened to the satellite falling to Earth. There are two pieces of debris shown falling from the sky, suggesting the satellite had finally fallen into Earth's atmosphere and would wreak havoc and death upon the population of New Rome. However, the damage and death from the satellite don't factor into the overall storytelling or its impact. Yeah, it's just weird, it just drops it. Maybe it was cut. It's just so weird because like throughout the movie they're building it up so much, and then it happens and they don't really talk about it ever again. So why Caesar and Julia's baby didn't freeze when time stopped. Yeah, this is at the end of the movie. Caesar and Julia's baby was the only one who didn't freeze when her parents stopped time at the end of Francis Ford Coppola's movie. If Megalon was tied to Caesar, by extension Julia, hope, then it makes sense that their child is the manifestation of that hope in every sense of the word. Caesar wanted to create a better future for the next generation, and his daughter is very much part of that. The baby being undeterred by stopping of time suggests her control of Megalon is even more powerful than her father's. It's also possible she didn't freeze because she has no concept of what time is and how it functions. Time is just beginning for the child, and it's not going too fast or too slow for her yet. It just is. Typically, it's Caesar who can stand outside of time while it stops, but now his daughter is the one who can't do it, meaning he's passed on his abilities to her. And that's another thing. It's like, can other people control Megalon, or is it just him? Can other people stop time, or is it just him? And he doesn't seem to do the stopping of time thing that much. It opens with it, and that's in the trailer when he's on the building, and he's kind of like leaning forward, and then he stops everything. That that was a cool shot. There's definitely some good cinematography and stuff in this. Caesar created Megalon following his wife's death. While he was trying to save her, Caesar was struck with the principle for Megalon after he discovered she was pregnant with twins when she died. Megalon was an extension of Caesar's hope, a way for him to create something that would secure the world for future generations. While it's unclear how exactly Caesar fabricated Megalon, Megalopolis shows him holding the heart of his wife, whose car fell into the river at one point. Megalon is also seemingly fused with a piece of his wife's hair, which suggests that only life can create life. Yeah. If you do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. It really helps the channel. And so, yeah, there's some interesting things in this, but I do think it's a mess. Megalon remains mysterious throughout Megalopolis. Coppola does not reveal some of his qualities. So I'll go to some of the trivia. Francis Ford Coppola financed the entire $120 million film out of his own pocket. He had done the same with Apocalypse Now and One from the Heart, and the failure of the latter made him declare bankruptcy. All subsequent films up to The Rainmaker were made to pay off his debts. Lawrence Fishburne has said Francis Ford Coppola was discussing this film production on Apocalypse Now, 1979. Rob Lowe also recalled discussing it while filming The Outsiders. Francis Ford Coppola reportedly fired most of his visual effects team in December 2022, according to Hollywood Reporter. He wanted to use virtual technology similar to that of The Mandalorian, but the production shifted to more green screen effects because of mounting costs. Production designer Beth Mickle and supervising art director David Scott then reportedly left for production, leaving the film without an art department. A spokesperson for the art Directors Guild told THR it's currently looking into the situation to determine the next step. Coppola's wife, Eleanor Coppola, unfortunately passed away in April 2024. While this film was still in post-production, the film was dedicated to her. That's sad. Francis Ford Coppola wrote the script in the early 1980s, but the film was kept on the back burner, partially due to his financial debts. Pre-production finally began in 2001 after filming 30 hours of second unit footage and holding table reads with Paul Newman, Uma Thurman, Robert De Niro, James Gandolfini, Nicolas Cage, Leonardo DiCaprio, Russell Crowe, Eddie Falco, and Kevin Spacey. Ugh. The project was scrapped after the September 11th attacks because the scene from the script predicted the attacks. No way. Coppola fully abandoned the project in 2007 and didn't begin developing it again until 2019. That's kind of weird. Another thing that predicted the attacks was the Lone Gunman show. Yeah, I think it's at the last episode. It's one of the episodes. Before Adam Driver was cast, Francis Ford Coppola was interested in Christian Bale for the lead role. In the late 90s, when the movie was first announced, Nicolas Cage, who was Francis Ford Coppola's nephew, was attached to play Caesar. Russell Crowe was considered, as both actors did table reads with Coppola before the project was canceled. Yeah, Jason Schwartzman is his nephew. Talia Shrier, is it Talia Shrier's son? James Caan was originally cast in the film. After his death, he was replaced by Dustin Hoffman. Okay, well, doesn't he mean he's barely in it, but alright. But yeah, I think that's about it though. Kind of a mess of a movie. There are some interesting ideas in it. I probably won't forget the movie, so that's something. But it's one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, I have to say. So, but yeah, huge flop. I hope Coppola feels like it was worth it. So, and it definitely is. It's something to see, but yeah, I think it's kind of a boring mess. But that's about it, though. See you next time.